So welcome back to another vlog. I thought I would just do a voiceover because that's easier than having to talk through the whole video. Started off and said good morning to Valentine, and of course we have to enter the stall in style. So did that. Val tried to eat the broom per usual and scared himself. Here's our lovely finished product, nice fluffy bed of shavings. His little paddock, however, was an entirely different story. As you can see, it's quite messy and really needed a clean. Much better, and I think Valentine agrees. In reality, you can't just snap your fingers and have all the work be done, so I thought I'd show you the actual process of cleaning a paddock. I had to stop and give Valentine a cuddle because look how cute he is. No one could resist that face. After I finished up, I gave Valentine more cuddles, and he proceeded to harass me by squishing my face with his gigantic nose. Once I had finished cleaning the stall, I emptied out the manure bucket in our big pile. The rain had calmed down, so I took this opportunity to bring Val out into his paddock for a nice little romp. And of course, we did have to make a pit stop and do some hand grazing because look at that yummy, luscious grass. Now that the pony was out doing his thing, I needed to make his feed because that takes a while to soak and it's just easier to do it sooner rather than later. So now it's time to make Valentine's lunch. I usually feed him 4 of these soaked alfalfa cubes, so into this bucket. 1. So 4 of those, and then I'll break those up. Usually 2 scoops of this joint supplement because he does have some arthritis, and this is just, to try and keep him in good shape. So we're testing that out, and then a spoon for mixing. Okay, so these are now all broken up, just makes it soak a little faster. So time to add a joint supplement. So this is just going to soak, and I'm just going to put a little mix. And so this will just soak a bit for the next 15 minutes or so, and then ready to get back to Valentine. Giving Val a dose of Ulcer Guard since we are leaving for a show in a couple of days, and he does have a very sensitive stomach, so hopefully he will not notice. Come on, there we go. Alright, yeah, so Ulcer Guard Power. Not sponsored. Putting a few treats into his feed just because he's a bit picky and I want him to eat it, so. Oh, he's hungry. He's hungry. Oh my gosh, he sneaks. Here, I need to put the bucket down. Ooh. Quality footage. So now he is happily enjoying his feed. Oh, Val. Your bum is a disgrace. So the bucket is cleaned and ready to start. I'm gonna go grab Val and start packing him up for our lesson. All Alright, future voiceover Sophia is back again. Here is our lovely tack room. There's my saddle and my little saddle pad collection. So I went over and I grabbed my girth, my bridle, and my martingale, which I was just pulling off the hook, and walked back over to my saddle, plopped that on there. Right next to the cross ties is this really sweet 3-year-old horse who absolutely loves to chew on anything he can get his mouth on. So there he is, and look at that face. There is not a thought behind those eyes, but he is adorable. Now that I have all my tack, it's time to get Valentine. So there we are, walking back to the paddock, through the mud, and more rain. Unfortunately, you can see it's quite a drizzly day, and Val is not too keen on the weather. You know, at least the cross ties are inside. And there is the poor, sad, wet pony ready for tacking up, so we'll just do an easy little transition, and boom, the pony's all tacked up. I thought I would show you a couple of clips of where I was grooming him and just how hairy he was. Also, because it is spring, Valentine is in the middle of his shedding season, and the hair will not stop pouring off of him. So you can kind of see the gigantic cloud of pony hair just floating to the ground. I mean, look at that. All over the place. Alright, lesson is finished. Unfortunately, I did not actually have any clips of us riding. I did not actually end up doing a lesson anyways. I was just hacking him around. And yes, he was quite good. We just had a few moments where he got a little tense, a little spooky, and I got tense. But we were through that. Then I untacked Val and put him in the wash rack so I could do his legs. Also, here's a very cute clip of Val being a super itchy boy, because when I started currying him, he lifted his head up into the air and started wiggling his nose. So I guess he's feeling the spring itchies today. I also then put Val out into his paddock again. It was starting to warm up a little bit, and you can kind of see that blue sky. More hand grazing because the grass, yum yum. So there he is, the pony boy out in his paddock, looking very happy. A little while later, it was time to bring him back inside again, so lots of back and forth. There he goes into his stall just because I knew dinner time was approaching, and I don't think he would like to be left outside while his friends are getting dinner. I started doing my tack, which was extremely hairy, because look at that girth. Look at all that Valentine hair. That is not a show-ready piece of tack, not in the least. And I went through a couple of sponges just because it kept collecting all of that hair. There you can see Val, he's quite impatient for his hay. After that, I went and watched a lesson because, you know, you can always learn things from other people, and snuggled with a cat. Val had once again made a bit of a mess of his stall, so I just gave it a quick clean again, and there he is enjoying his dinner. I didn't want to bother him too much. And then I decided to take off his cooler and put on his heavy blanket since it is quite chilly in the evenings. And that was it for the day. I will see you tomorrow. Okay, so here I am just hacking for my morning ride. I thought I would just share this little clip because we got this new grooming tool called Sleek Easy. It just takes off all of that extra hair and grime and dust that you sometimes can't get with a curry comb or hard brush. And I really liked it, and I think most importantly, Valentine liked it. I also thought I'd do a little voiceover of our ride. Unfortunately, these are the only clips that I got throughout the whole weekend of riding. So yes, he was very sticky that day, and you can see he's like very reluctant to go forward. He had felt great the day before, and his transitions were beautiful. So we kind of awkwardly hopped over that little cavaletti. We were keeping things small today just because we are heading off to a show, and he'll be doing lots of jumping. So yeah, we jumped over that fence, and yeah, I was trying to do a simple change, but he decided this was the perfect opportunity to poop right there and then, and I couldn't get it, so my riding instructor just had me trot to the fence because she's not a huge fan of circling. We ended up getting a sort of 5.5 because Valentine had to help me out and pad the ground since we really chipped in there, which is okay because we went and did it again. As you can see, popping over the cavaletti, and we just did this whole thing one more time. Here we did something slightly different. Instead of doing our first course, we jumped over the vertical and skipped the cavaletti and then hopped down this little line, but instead of going all the way down, we just did the first blue crossrail to this little vertical here, and then finished up by jumping down the blue line again, which I think we jumped quite nicely. No weird striding on my part. Val then spent some more time out in his turnout. He actually spent a while out there, and of course he had to roll in the muddiest part. There's a little photo of him, and I didn't want to have to deal with that the next day, so I decided to take him into the cross ties again and just give him a quick groom and try and get off as much of the mud as I could. Val was all done for the day, and dinner time was rapidly approaching, so I put him back in his stall and said goodnight. Final day of preparation before the show. Oh, sleepy skin. And of course, it's time to do his stall. First, I put Val out into his paddock. I wanted to use the one that was slightly smaller, but next to his larger one, because the grass was starting to look a little worn down, and it was quite a warm day, so I wanted to give him a bit of shade. But unfortunately, he found it quite stressful and clearly just, was running around. I was a little worried about him injuring himself because it's right before the show. Also, part of the fencing for some reason was collapsed on that side. You can kind of see him running towards it, and he was sticking his head over, and I was a little worried that he was contemplating jumping out, which I don't think he could do, but it still made me nervous. So I stood with him a while and tried to calm him down.
And woo. And woo.
Next, it was time to tack him up for a ride. No videos of the ride, unfortunately. However, we had a very nice stretch. We had quite a few good transitions, so that was something I was happy about. It was also very sunny out, so I plopped on my Yes I Was Raised in a Barn hat and brought Valentine out for a bath. First, I hosed him down to get all of the sweat off, and then it was time for soap, so I used a bunch of my mane and tail shampoo, which is also good for the coat, and sort of dribbled it along his back and started rubbing it in. Then I rinsed that off, and it was time to do his mane and tail. I did use a whitening shampoo, so his mane and tail were temporarily dyed purple for a while, but it was cute, so he looked like a unicorn. Then I rinsed that all out and used a sweat scraper to wipe off any excess water remaining from his bath. Recently, I've been letting Val embrace his field pony side, growing his mane out and his whiskers. However, it was time for him to look a little bit more show ready, so I clipped his whiskers. I could tell Val was quite tempted to roll, so I made his feed to try and distract him temporarily until he had dried off a bit. Seeing as he had been such a good boy, I did give him a couple carrots. Then I put all of my tack into the tack trunk, and it was time for it to be loaded into the trailer. It was now about 3 o'clock, and I was quite hungry myself. However, I forgot to pack a fork, so I tried to use a carrot as a fork to eat noodles. It was not successful. I gave Val one more carrot and some cuddles because I wouldn't be seeing him for 2 days since he was heading down to the show just before I was. I was going down Wednesday and he was heading down Monday. Unfortunately, we didn't realize that his vaccine record was expiring halfway through the show, so he did have to have 2 vaccines. Ideally, I wouldn't do this before a show in case he was feeling a little under the weather afterwards, but we didn't have much of a choice. Then I went home to clean my boots. Alright, so this is the clean boot and this is the dirty boot. So let's compare and contrast. So I'm just gonna clean this boot. Here they are, all nice and clean. Once I had finished that, I decided that I was going to make a show packing list for future reference, just so I wasn't going to forget anything. And yes, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!